So now let's talk about how you're going to be running your Python scripts. So remember, Python is an interpreted programming language. That means you have an interpreter installed on your system. You write your code out in plain text, and then you call the interpreter to read your script, and then that's how your program does whatever it's going to do. So there are a number of different ways to trigger your Python script, and we have to go over those. So now one of the things to remember when you're running Python is you are going to be running this on your tech stack, right? And your tech stack includes your hardware, the operating system, all of those different types of things. One of the things that you'll find when you start coding Python is Python works one way on Mac and Linux, and it, works slightly differently on Windows. So I've tried to take down the notes for if you're a Windows user, but just realize if you're a Windows user, things might be slightly different and you might have to do a little bit of troubleshooting. That's just kind of how it is. So the first way to run your Python script is to call the Python interpreter, feed it the script name, and then it will do whatever it is that you've coded it to do. Now the only prerequisite for this is that you actually do have the Python interpreter installed. So we've already had classes on how to install the interpreter onto Mac, Linux, and Windows. So do make sure that Python is installed on your system, or none of this session is going to work. So the first thing that you're going to do is basically, if you're going to be running on Mac or if you're going to be running on Linux, you will call Python 3. So remember, there's Python 2 and Python 3. Generally on Mac and Linux, you'll call Python 3 and then whatever the script name is or the location to the script name. So we're calling the interpreter and then we're saying this is the script that we want to fire off. If you're in the Windows world and you install Python 3 at this point in time, generally, you would simply call Python no3 and then whatever the script name is, and that's what will fire off the script. Now this is the script that we're going to be using today. For the moment, don't worry about the shebang up here. This is called the shebang. This is the actual action that we want to occur. So we want to print out onto the screen, just that terminal screen that you have, and we simply want to print out the words, hello world. That is all that is going to happen here. We have named this shebang-example.py because we're going to be using this for the shebang examples too. So basically we have the script shebang-example.py. When we run this script, all we're going to do is write out hello world into the terminal. So now to run the script, all we need to do is we need to go to the terminal or the command prompt. If you're in the Windows world, all you're going to need to do is if you're in Mac or Linux, is you just simply need to find where your terminal app is and open that up, and that will give you the command prompt. The first thing that we need to do is we need to verify that we are in the correct folder for the Python script. So again, we basically need to add the file path to the script whenever we call the Python interpreter, and to make things easier, we just want to make sure we are in the same folder. So most of the time I do save my files into my root directory. So there's a root directory on this computer called Eli. I save the files there to make my life easier. And what I can do is I can do the command ls-l. So this will work in Mac or it'll work in Linux. And if you're in the Windows world, it would be dir. And basically when I do this, let me shrink this down a little bit. I'm just simply going to verify that the shebang file is here. So I can just do this, and I can scroll up, and I can see here that the shebang, example.py, that script is here, and I can also see the permissions on the script, which will be important later. From here, all I need to do is I need to clear the screen. Once the screen is clear, then I can simply call Python 3 and then shebang-example.py. So that's all we're going to be doing here. And we hit return and we get hello world. We have run our first Python script. Now another way to fire off a Python 3 script is by using a shebang. So all a shebang is what you're going to do is you're going to put it in the first line of your script. It is going to be a hash mark with an exclamation point, and then it's going to be the file path to whatever your Python 3 interpreter is. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to tell your computer, use this file path to the interpreter to be able to run the rest of to the script, and it's one way to make your life a lot easier so that you don't always have to keep typing in a Python 3 or Python whenever you're going to be running your scripts. One of the things that you do have to remember though is that you are going to have to give permission to your system to be able to execute the script that you've created. So I showed you when I listed out the files and folders in my directory before, and we had the permissions over here. One of the things you might have noticed is that there was read-write permissions for the shebang-example.py script, but there were no execute permissions. If you do not add an execute permission for the Python script, basically with the shebang, it will not fire off if you're trying to use the shebang in order to be able to use a script with the Python 3 interpreter. So if we take a look at the script that we had before, again, this is the print, hello world. This is basically just simply the action of the script. This is the shebang up here that we're most interested in. Again, you're going to start with the hash sign. You're going to then have an exclamation point that says shebang to the system. And then what you're going to be putting here is the file path to the interpreter that you care about. Now there's a couple of ways that you can put this file path in there. You can put the file path directly to your Python 3 interpreter. Again, Python 3, the interpreter, is actually something that gets installed in your system, which means, Spaghetti Monster help you. You might have different versions of Python 3 on your system. Hopefully because you mean to, because you're an expert, and sometimes because you just don't know what the hell you're doing. And so one of the issues that you can run into is basically which Python 3 is the system supposed to use. And so what's cool with this particular shebang is you go to user bin environment. So this is looking for the environment variable, and all this is asking for is what is the Python 3, the default Python 3 in the environment variable for this particular user. So this is probably going to be the best shebang that you're going to want to use, but you could do a file path. Again, if you've got 4 different Python 3 interpreters, there might be a reason to use different ones. So theoretically, you could hard code in the specific path to the interpreter that you want. But this right here for you when you're starting out is going to be the best way to go. Basically what it's going to do is it's going to say, hey, what is the default Python 3 interpreter for the system? And that is what we are going to use in order to run this particular script. So here we are back at our terminal again. Again, this is how we triggered the script before. Now how we want to trigger the script is we are going to do period, we're going to do /, and then we're going to do whatever the script name is, shebang-example.py. Now when I run this, you will now see that permission was denied. And the reason that the permission was denied is because I don't have the execute permission on this particular script, right? So if I do ls-l and I do I do this basically, this will show me for shebang-example, this will show me the permissions, and you'll see there's read, write, read, but there's no execute permissions. So in order to be able to execute the script, I need to give myself execute permissions to be able to do that. So if I clear the screen, what I can do is I can do sudo chmod. So this is something in the Linux world. Basically, it's just changing the permissions of a particular file. I can do +x. So this is going to add the execute permission to the script. And then we do shebang-example.py. We hit enter, it'll ask me for my password, and then we get the command prompt, right? And then if we go back, and we do the listing again, what we'll notice is we now have read, write, execute permission, read, execute permission, and read, execute permission so that the script can actually be executed. If I clear the screen again, and then we do period /shebang-example.py, now when that happens, it will simply say hello world. Basically, the script will fire off. Now, it is important in the Linux and the Mac world that you do put the period / here. What this is going to do is it's actually going to create an environment with the environment variables to allow the whole shebang process to work out. If all you do is basically simply try to run shebang-example.py. Again, you're going to get a command not found because it did not get the environment variable. So you do have to put the period, / and then whatever the script name is, right? The file path to that script name. And you need to do that after you've given yourself execute permission to be able to execute the script. Now Windows is, surprise, surprise, a little bit different with this whole shebang thing. So with Windows, as long as you're in the proper directory, you should be able to call the script on its own without the period and any slashes. So if you call the script on its own and you have that shebang, and the same shebang will work. So the same up here that I have, right, this user bin environment Python 3. This should work for you on Windows. So that's fine, and basically as long as that's in your script, when you type this into the command prompt, it will fire off and the script should run. You may get a warning that asks you basically what program should be used to run a .py extension. If you get that warning, do make sure to state the Python interpreter, and then from there on out, you should not get any other warnings. Now, if you do like the whole period and slashes when you're running your script, do remember in the Windows world, they use backslashes instead of /. So you would use period / and then whatever the name of the script is, and that will also get the script to run from the shebang. Now the final way to get a Python script to run within your system is simply within VS Code. As long as you have the Python extension installed within your VS Code environment, you will get a little, it's like a little triangle thing in the upper right hand corner, and basically when you write your script, you should be able to click that triangle. It will use whatever your interpreter is to actually run your script. So this is VS Code, again, with the script that we've been working with, and over here is the triangle. So this will be here if the Python extension is installed within VS Code. So you have the interpreter that's installed on your system, and you need that to run. But then for VS Code, to be able to communicate with that interpreter, there's a Python extension that has to be installed within VS Code. If it is installed, you should see this triangle up here. If it's not installed, it won't be there. You can go over to extensions. So these little square things that are right here, I can click on that and you can see that I have the Python extension here, and that's been installed from Microsoft, and that gives us a lot of these tools. So basically, again, I have this nice little hello world script. What I can do is I can go to that little triangle, I can hit the run, and we can see a little terminal window opens up down here, and then we get the hello world like we were getting in the other terminal window. So this is frankly where we're going to be running our scripts 99% of the time in classes, right? So when I'm teaching you, I'm going to write everything out here, and then we're just going to hit run, and then it's going to run down here, and we're going to get whatever our results are. The reason that we do that is because it's just a hell of a lot easier. It's all within this one IDE. The important thing to be thinking about, though, is when you're going to be taking your scripts out to a production environment, you're going to put it onto a server or whatever else, then you have to start thinking about that whole deal of, are you going to call Python 3 and then the script name? Are you going to use a shebang in order to trigger the script? Are you using Mac, Linux, or Windows? So make sure that you use the right syntax in order for that to fire off. These are some of the things you have to think about. So that's all there is for being able to run Python scripts on your system. I would recommend that you copy this script over once you've learned how to use VS Code, learn how to run it in the different ways from the interpreter, from the shebang, and from the VS Code, so that you get comfortable with that as we go into our future classes.